Other states, all those other states whose polls have yet to close, that it's okay to vote Republican, it won't hurt at all. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to my friend and the man who's going to send Ben Chandler back to Woodford County, our next Congressman, Andy Barr. Thank you, Senator Thayer. Senator Thayer is a great leader in the General Assembly. Let's give Senator Thayer a round of applause. He is a tireless advocate for conservatism, and we need to send Ryan Quarles to join him in the General Assembly to advance the cause of freedom. My name is Andy Barr. As Damon indicated, I am a pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, pro-free enterprise, Reagan Republican, and I am seeking to be your next congressman in Washington, D.C. And in the next 16 days, I want to join you on a mission. And that mission is to retire Ben Chandler from Congress. But that's only job number one. Job number two is to retire Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House of Representatives. In most election cycles, you hear candidates for office talking about national challenges. We face challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, this year, in this time, in this era of American history, we face a national emergency. And the national emergency is that we have a $14 trillion national debt. We have 10% unemployment. And we have a Congress with an 11% approval rating. Washington is broken, and the career politicians are no longer listening. And so in this election, in this campaign, in this congressional district, you have a clear choice. And this election is not that complicated. If you want a congressman who votes 94% of the time with Nancy Pelosi, if you want a congressman who advances the Obama-Pelosi agenda, if you want a congressman who votes for job-killing cap and trade, which will double our energy costs and increase the energy costs of Toyota Motor Manufacturing of Kentucky by $25 million a year. If you want a congressman who will vote and co-sponsor legislation to do away with the secret ballot in workplace union organizing elections. If you want a congressman who votes for Obama's stimulus bill that spent $1 trillion without creating any jobs. If you want a congressman who voted for so much spending at the beginning of this Congress that it amounts to $1 billion an hour for the first 55 days of the 111th Congress, then I suggest to you, you should vote to re-elect Ben Chandler. But if you want a new style of leadership, if you want a congressman who will be a check and balance to the Obama-Pelosi agenda, if you want a congressman who will stop job-killing legislation like cap and trade, if you want a congressman who will oppose and fight card check, if you want a congressman who will cut wasteful spending, balance the federal budget, reduce the national debt, and repeal Obamacare, I respectfully ask for your vote. And so for the next 16 days, we're going to be focused on three priorities. Number one, jobs and the economy. And the way we get our economy moving again is not through more spending and not through more debt. Clearly, the problem is not a shortage of spending. The problem is a surplus of government. And so we need to get the economy moving again by putting faith back in the free enterprise system and getting the government out of the way. The second priority is going to be to address our national crisis of spending and debt. And so we're going to focus on supporting a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution of the United States. We're going to support Congressman Eric Cantor's proposal to place a moratorium on the abusive process of earmarking in the United States Congress. We're going to support a proposal to bring back the old Joint Committee on the reduction of non-essential federal expenditures, which is basically the Anti-Appropriations Committee. And everything that this committee does is to exercise its subpoena power to bring the bureaucrats and the big spenders in front of Congress and challenge them why programs should be justified, why the taxpayers should have to spend this money, and we will streamline, and we will consolidate, and we will eliminate, and we will cut wasteful government spending through this committee. And finally, the third priority that we're going to be talking about in the next 16 days is to reform the institution of Congress. The politicians are no longer listening. They're passing 1,000-page bills in the middle of the night. No one has read the bills. And no one even has a copy of the bill. When Congressman Chandler voted for the cap and trade bill, it included a 310-page amendment tacked on in the middle of the night. And when he voted for that bill, the clerk of the House of Representatives didn't even have an enrolled copy of the bill. Backroom deals. This is not accountable government. And so we're going to reform Congress by supporting term limits. And we're going to support reforming Congress by supporting term limits for committee chairmen, especially appropriations committee chairmen. We're going to support changing the rules so that members of Congress can't vote on a bill without the bill citing the constitutional authority which they propose to do the things that they are doing. And we're going to make them read the bills because we're going to require them to wait at least 72 hours and require them to post the entire text of the bill online so that members of Congress, their staff, the press, and the American people can actually read the bills before members of Congress vote on them. And there's good news, because I am one of 75 other first-time candidates all across the country, and we have come together united in a cause, not a career. We want to go to Washington not to stay there forever, but to change the institution, reform it, and stop the wasteful spending and prevent the politicians from bankrupting our country. And we have good news to report right here. A poll released last week shows us within 1 point in the lead, 48 to 47 with 5% undecided. And I'll tell you how you know those numbers are right. The Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee has purchased hundreds of thousands of dollars to save Ben Chandler in the last 2 weeks of this campaign. So we have an obligation, not to me or this campaign, but to our country, to work hard the last 16 days of this election. Tell your friends, tell the people you go to church with, tell the people that you go to work with that this is the most important election in your lifetime. Get out and work for the cause of freedom, limited government, and fiscal responsibility. And on election night on November 2nd, when you're at home and the polls have closed, as Senator Thayer said, you have an opportunity to send a message to the White House, and to send a message to Nancy Pelosi, and to send a message all across this country that things are going to change in Washington, and not the change that we were promised in 2008, but change that will really make Washington more accountable to the American people. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.